I thought we got contributions from a lot of players tonight, and I give our guys a lot of credit for the way that they've responded. And I thought I subbed much quicker than I have been, and I thought it helped us. And I want to give our guys credit. We put a lineup out there that we hadn't put out there before. When they went small, we matched that. And tried to play a smaller lineup in order to defend a three, which we could have done a better job of. And then we went back and put Josh Jones in, trying to, get a paint touch inside and see if we could take advantage of a matchup, which, obviously turned into a turnover on a foul. But I thought the first half we played with a tremendous amount of energy. I thought our defensive presence was much different than what it has been up to this point this season. And then I give our guys credit. I mean, KC did a great job in the second half. They executed well. Zero's driving downhill consistently against our coverages. Their shooters, especially number 30, I feel like, got open too many times. But our guys finished the game. We didn't lose the lead. I know we were up 17 at the half, but when a game starts to flip like that, it can have a toll on you mentally. And I thought our guys did a great job with how they responded and how they finished.
A couple of times at home this season, you've had it's been close, and it comes down to that last possession, and the opponent has scored.
Mm-hmm.
This time you came up with the defensive stop that sealed the game. Just what was the difference this time?
God's grace. I feel like we contested a shot that was a deep three, and they missed, and it was a good shooter. So I'm thankful that we made the effort to affect the shot. Something we've talked about. We've been giving up too many paint touches with our defense that leads to a high number of fouls. You go back to when we played them the first time. I think we put them on the line 28 or 29 times. I think they had 24 points on the free throw line. One of their guards, I think, drew 8 fouls in the game. So that was something we put an emphasis on. But the other part is, just doing a better job flying at shooters and contesting shots, trying to affect shots and impact the result of the shot instead of, I remember one now, we gave up an offensive rebound, the ball moved, and I won't use a kid's name, but he just stood and watched. And that's unfortunately what we've done too many times is it's like, all right, instead of making a maximum effort, it's like, I don't think I can get there. So I thought our guys did a much better job flying around and just trying to impact the ball on shots.
So when you got up 20 at one point, do you think there's something to be said for maybe, because there's a skill to playing from ahead too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they're just kind of rusty on playing with that kind of a lead, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they relaxed a little bit.
Well, I think part of what happened is we're trying to get into longer possessions, and they did a good job taking McBride out, and that's obviously disruptive at times. And again, we had a lineup on the floor to try to minimize what they were doing on the other end of the floor that put us in some different situations. So I think that's part of what you saw. We still have to get better at timely shots, right? I thought Jalen Miller took a three with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. That wasn't a good shot, right? Sam Alajiki ends up in the paint. I'd prefer those shots at that time because you're in a high foul area, and I believe we were in a double bonus for a while. So that's something we just have to continue to work on.
So was the locker room really happy, or somewhat happy, or relief?
They were happy. I mean, obviously you participated in sports, you know what it's like. I think anybody that's played any type of game and you go through a stretch where you're not winning, when you win, you're happy that you won. And I think the main thing, and I heard when I was walking into the locker room, and I'm glad to hear this, is like, hey, on to the next. Because we'll learn from this, what do we do well, what do we need to get better at moving forward, and then get ready for the next one. So, you'd have to ask them in terms of, hey, are you relieved? Are you, they wasn't like there were water bottles flying around and guys being drowned in water. But, obviously it does feel good to be on this side instead of the other side.
We saw it in football season, TCU was in the championship game a couple of years ago, and then they've evened out quite a bit since then, and Arkansas was in the Elite Eight against you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, and then what are they, 1-6 or whatever they've been in the SEC this year with Calipari. So you think this is kind of emblematic to some extent of the unpredictability of college athletics.
I wish I had a factual answer, because I do think there's a lot that goes into play. I mean, I don't know what happened in the Duke-Carolina game. It was on in the locker room, and the score at one point certainly looked like Duke was up, I don't remember, 20-something. And, you see, all right, I'll change it. Let's say Miami, right? They were in the Elite Eight,
Right.
right? And I don't know what their record was, but Coach Larinaga decides, I'm done, right? I think other coaches have done that before the season started based on the change in the landscape of college athletics. I don't know if any
Tony
of it.
Bennett said,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gone.
I don't know if anybody has a real answer. I mean, I was listening to a coach earlier today, and he said, people keep saying the kids have changed. And his comment was, the kids haven't changed. It's the people around the kids. And it's a different level of accountability than, what other people are accustomed to. Bill, I wish I knew the answer. I think we're all adjusting to something that's a lot different. I know for me, being in the business for a long time, this is a lot different than any other time I can remember, where you can just transfer whenever you want. But there's a lot, and I think you're managing a lot of things that you wouldn't have to manage the same way in the past.
Okay, so Arkansas was 1 and whatever, and now they're about to win at Kentucky. So,
Yeah, you look at, I think, and you'll know the history better than I, right? ORU goes on a run for a while, and then what happens? There's a rebuilding, right? Then you get through that, you get to rebuild, you go on another run, and then what happens? Same thing.
cycle.
And I think that happens in mid-major basketball a lot more often than the blue bloods, right? Because typically the blue bloods, you're just constantly, you're reloading. And I think for us, it's harder because players that play well, instead of being able to come back, what do? A lot of times? They leave. So the attrition rate is higher, I would argue, at our level than it is other places. I don't have a fact, I'm just offering an opinion. And I think that's something that's really challenging. Because at the end of the year, a lot of times, in my mind, you're going to fit into one of three categories, right? You've either exhausted your eligibility, so you can't play anymore. You played well enough at our level to earn the opportunity to play up, right? Which is something a lot of kids would like the opportunity to do. Or,
Play up is a nice way to put it. You
Yeah.
need to get paid.
well, you can say that. And then the other one is I didn't play as much as I would like, and I would like to go somewhere else and play more. So again, back to the attrition rate. It's just at a higher volume in my mind than it's ever been. And that's just something as a coach where in the past you could build based on young talent developing and your team staying connected, right? I don't know if that's the world we live in anymore.